I'm Millie West, and this was my first job. So I came here at a very early age, having gone straight through, and have been here ever since. And that year that I came here was '59, which means I think I've been here well over 50 years. I was over the women's physical education and the athletic program and the recreation program. That really opened my eyes to what women did not have and needed to have to be successful. My impetus was to try to improve women's athletics. And I was a women's athletic director until 1985, and then I became the associate athletic director for men and women. During that time, it was so evident that the women didn't have anything. When I took over the women's program, we had $19,000 for 15 sports. And so it was an onus on me to try to make that change. So I started hammering the development department, and then what happened, that was '69 that I took over. Then we moved into the '70s, and then came Title IX, and that was 1972. Then by 1976, it had some teeth in it, and our budget went from 19,000 and through the time that I was in that position to well over 2 million. And the thing about early on, we didn't have any scholarships. We didn't have uniforms, we didn't have equipment, everybody just had their own. And if you had to take a team somewhere, use your own car. And my husband said, well, I wore out 2 cars driving teams around. But it was just fun. It was great. Everybody loved it. They did it because they loved doing it, not because they were made to. So that, and now it's really not a problem. And the worst thing about it is that many of the athletes today have no idea what it was like back in those days. And if you read some of these biographies of the people in this room, they all have a story to tell about they played on the men's team, or they were the only women that got this, and they did this for women's athletics. So that's been my real onus, I would say, and it's been great. I loved it. I have a few scars. I was not very popular during part of that when I was really, people sort of avoided me because I was on my soapbox every day for women's sports. Of course, my heart has always been in tennis. I played regionally, and I just loved it, and that I loved working with the players. It was the 300th anniversary that I really pushed for an indoor tennis center. And Mark McCormick, who founded IMG, and his wife Betsy, after a lot of years of talking about what's going to make this team get to the top level, how can we do that, then I said it's just an indoor tennis center. We can piece together scholarships, but we can't piece together a building. And so he and Betsy gave $3 million to build this building, and it cost about $3.5 million. So it was opened in '95. We got the Hall of Fame in 1988. We had the Whiteman Cup here, and the Whiteman Cup is international play between women from America, USA, and Great Britain. So we had that 3 times over in the hall, but we still didn't have a place for the Hall of Fame, and Mark and Betsy were willing to give this space to the Hall of Fame. And everybody works on it. You know, it's tennis staff, the tennis team, friends of mine in the athletic department. It's a very disciplined sport. I mean, it's very routine, and so it's disciplined. And it also, you have to think, it's more mental work to play tennis than the skills. Once you get the skills, it's probably 90% mental. And so you have a person who has worked on this, has learned how to use their skills, physical skills, and their mind, and they're going to be successful in anything they try to do. And I think that's obvious from some of our graduates.
My name's Tyler Thompson. I coach women's tennis at the College of William & Mary, and I'm also the associate curator of the Women's Collegiate Tennis Hall of Fame. The most powerful thing about this Hall of Fame, again, is it brings into perspective the amount of gratitude that young girls and women, I'm hopeful, will learn to have about their current opportunities. And when you talk to so many of the women who have been inducted here about their roots, it was a struggle. It was a struggle for opportunity. It was a struggle for probably adequate coaching, adequate prize money, equal prize money. So with young girls, I think it's often, and all of us, we're kind of most concerned with our own life and what's going on in our own world. But I think the earlier that we can express the historical perspective of women's sport and women's tennis to young girls, the more appreciative they'll be, and then hopefully they'll work harder with the moments that they have, knowing that it's not to be taken for granted.
And with the recruiting, I mean, Tyler's on the road, all coaches are on the road all the time, at all the big tournaments, all summer, and there's just no relaxation in it.
When we recruit for our tennis program, we're obviously looking for the best tennis players that we can who are also great students, but we put a high premium on character and on just overall behavior of the girls that we watch. And there are many times when we don't express interest in girls who are great tennis players if they don't also have great attitude and good work ethic. So I just think it's really important for all girls who aspire to play college tennis and to aspire to be successful athletes to understand that the coaches who are recruiting them, most coaches are keenly interested in their character and how they conduct themselves, their attitude on the court, how they manage their anger, good sportsmanship, treating their opponents well. All of those things are things that we notice very closely when we're recruiting, and just because you might be a good tennis player and win a match isn't all of the, it's not the whole story. It's equally important to be a good citizen and to be a good student, because without all three of those things, you probably won't have an opportunity to be a part of a team at the highest level.
And also you have to add to that the coaches now don't just organize the team, they have to be able to keep up with the players. They have to be able to hit with the players and play with them. And you've got to commit yourself. If you're going to have a full ride for 4 years, then you ought to be able to give freely and happily to something you love. And that all this time that I've been working on this, I've loved what I'm doing. I mean, my heart's in it. Well, we have a committee, a national committee that is spread all over the country. I think there are about 12 plus maybe of us, and so they can nominate people, but they have to fill out what the accomplishments are. And so then the committee talks about them, looks at them, and votes, and that's how they get in. And it's tough because the list is getting longer, and it's harder to decide. It has to be a real achievement for the person to get in. It's been a labor of love, and I'm just depending on Tyler to carry it on.
Well, it's a great friendship, but also very educational. And I learned a ton from Millie about coaching, about the history of women's tennis, about the history of our athletic department, and it's nice to become closer the longer we work together.
It's like the beginning of women's athletics at William & Mary. I got it started. I did a lot of base work and foundation work, but it's gone on well beyond me. I mean, it's not me. That's what you're supposed to do, build on what you have. But I just hope that the current athletic department and the university continues to be supportive. And that's very important. And then that we still have to get the voice out there.
Even if you've just played high school tennis for a year, or you've been playing national events throughout your career, there is a place for you to continue your tennis. And just finding the right fit of that tennis with what you want academically and socially. But you just got to keep looking, and that place is out there.
It's important to women. I mean, it's the history. That's what it is. It's the carrying on the history of those women who really paved the way. And as I mentioned before, you got started, and then everybody has to add something. You can't just take it and let it be here. You've got to make it bigger and better.